the Malthusian crisis, right? This is the tipping point that I was talking about, What happens when we officially overtake the critical threshold that is listed on the Malthusian setup? Well, the answer is the Malthusian crisis occurs. And as it says here, during the Malthusian crisis, the available agricultural spaces are limited. There must be some sort of lack of technological progress. So, there isn't enough machinery, there isn't enough irrigation, fertilizers are rare. And new types of crops, they're all very slow and rare in occurrence, right? So we're in a bit of trouble, in simple terms. So essentially, the population is, unsustainable. And you end up with a Malthusian crisis. Now, there are different types of Malthusian crisis here. There are a few here. So we've got food shortages, we've got famines, we've got war and epidemics. But I think it's important to understand, or at least appreciate, that these are of different, the kind of disasters. I think it's important to know that, the crises are, different levels of severity. I think you'd agree that, all of these ones listed here, these are very extreme, these are bad, these are very severe, right? This is sort of, this is severe. However, there's also this, right? The necessity of, moral restraint on reproduction. And I think this is quite interesting because this is really what sort of, makes it different, actually. Suddenly the crisis doesn't have to be such a severe one. It could instead be perhaps families make decisions to regulate the number of children they have. This is known as a preventative Malthusian check. And I should be clear as well that if we really want to be technical and excellent in our language for the essays, we should really reference the fact that there are two main types of Malthusian checks. Okay, the first type, called the positive check. Now, don't be fooled, okay? It sounds nice, doesn't it? A positive check. But the reality is, the positive check is the absolute check. In other words, it's the extreme check. So this is the absolute and extreme death situation. Situation where resources are so scarce that people wage war, right? So people are waging wars over resources because they're so scarce. It's pretty remarkable, really. It's pretty daunting. It's pretty, severe. So it's an incredibly dark, dark, dark situation. So that's the sort of scarce side of things there. Anyway, let's continue looking at this. So that's the positive check, okay? Now there is another type of check. Okay, there's another type of check which I'm going to write below, and that is preventative check. Now this is like the less severe kind of disaster. And what's really interesting is the preventative check is actually something that we sort of see much more on a day-to-day basis. So the preventative check is essentially family planning decisions.